let's just jump right into this topic. So what is the number one secret that the ladies watching need to know?
I am so glad you asked that. Yeah, I love just getting right to the juicy stuff here. So that is choosing a man with your feminine energy rather than your masculine energy. So for everyone out there, if you've seen some of my videos on YouTube, or if you've read any of my books or programs, I talk a lot about being in your feminine energy. Would you like me just to kind of briefly go over the difference in case anyone's new to those terms?
Sure. I think it's a buzz term in our industry these days for sure. But I think it's always a good thing to kind of revisit it, Helena, and give your perspective and definition on what that is.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so happy to do that. So for everyone watching, we all have both masculine and feminine energy inside of us. Men and women have both. They're both really important. They play a crucial role in our lives, right? So your masculine energy is the part of you that's about doing things and thinking and solving problems and making decisions. Anytime you need to get something done or figure something out, you're in your masculine energy. You can see how that's really useful in work, in raising kids, in all different kinds of areas of your life, right? Checking off your to-do list, things like that. Your feminine energy is kind of the opposite. That's the part that's about being in the moment, experiencing, kind of intuiting what's going on around you, receiving from a man or from life, from anybody, responding and expressing yourself, coming from that place. Also, trusting and allowing are very feminine energy qualities. Love to talk about that a little later because they're not very much talked about, but they're so important when it comes to really embodying a mindset or like a philosophy in life that's very irresistible and magnetic. So that's your feminine energy. I talked so much about being in your feminine energy, but for this video, I'd love to kind of go a little more advanced and talk about actually choosing a man coming from your feminine energy rather than choosing him based on this masculine energy criteria, which can be really easy to do without realizing it. So hope that clarified it a little bit.
Yeah, and I'm really just taking a notice right here of the words choosing. I think just the word choosing is really important in this whole equation. And yes, you're going to share with us how a woman can choose a man from the place of her feminine energy.
Yes, absolutely. So if anyone watching, if you're anything like I was before I kind of figured this out, you may be subconsciously choosing men with your masculine energy, meaning you're looking at a man sort of on paper and deciding he's what you want, right? Because he looks good physically, he has a great job, maybe he's successful, you have a lot of chemistry, this kind of superficial kind of chemistry with him that tends to be hooked up with the wrong kind of man in our subconscious. If you have a pattern of falling for men where it doesn't really work out, if you're anything like I was, we can talk about that a little later. Very important. Or, the way he carries himself, the way that he is, our feelings for him based on these kind of external standards or this checklist that we all have, right? That would be choosing a man based on your masculine energy. And when we do that, we tend to put that man on a pedestal. I hear from so many women who kind of aren't attracted to that many men. And then one guy comes along and then that's the guy they really like. And so they kind of, even without realizing it, they put that man on a pedestal. And when we do that, we can't really help it. We tend to want to go after him, even in very subtle ways, very kind of unconscious ways, like trying to prove ourselves to him, win him over, earn his love or attention or affection, all of these things that just push him away on a very deep level, right? Mm-hmm. So what I really want to encourage everyone to do is start choosing men from their feminine energy. Now that looks like choosing a man based on how it feels to be with him, right? How relaxed you are around him and how you just feel that he really likes you and accepts you. You can be yourself around him. You feel very relaxed and you know where you stand with him because his energy is coming towards you. So everyone can really just feel into how does it feel to be with this man or any man who shows up, both when he's right in front of you and when he's not right in front of you, and start choosing men based on how it feels rather than this kind of external criteria that sometimes can be hooked up with the wrong kind of man, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we've probably all had the experience of choosing a man more from that he looks great on paper, kind of the resume, if you will, or based on the looks or the chemistry, it just kind of like makes sense in our mind. So that's kind of the more masculine thinking part of us, rather than paying attention to what we're really feeling inside, not only in terms of attraction and chemistry, but like you're talking about, do you feel comfortable? Do you feel safe? Do you feel like you can be yourself? Do you feel secure about yourself? Do you feel actually better about yourself after spending time with him, rather than feeling insecure or like you have to prove or like you have to strive for something or twist yourself into a pretzel?
I love what you said there. Yeah, I mean, we can sometimes get so wrapped up as women in how we feel about the man that we're often ignoring how we feel about ourselves, which is not very good at all, especially if he's not doing what he's supposed to be doing, like moving things forward, taking initiative, taking your feelings and needs into account when he's planning and making decisions, right? So another thing I hear from women is like, well, when we're together, it feels really good and the chemistry's off the charts and we're so attracted to each other. But then when he's not there, like when he disappears for a week at a time and I don't hear from him, I feel really anxious and insecure and it doesn't feel that good. Well, I would say that's definitely something to pay attention to. So you want to kind of hook up your feelings of attraction and chemistry with a man's masculine action towards you. Right? So much of the time women can be attracted to the man who's a little unavailable, who's just slightly out of her reach, where she doesn't quite know where she stands with him. So if you're choosing from your feminine energy, that man would not even qualify anymore. So I'd love to give maybe like a couple qualifications or things to look out for to do this whole new way, choosing a man with their feminine energy, if that's all right.
Sure, that sounds great. Before you do that, I just want to put the accent on something that you said, and that is, it is important to pay attention to not only how you feel when you're with him, but how you feel when you're not with him. Because if you are feeling that insecurity or that doubt, or you're questioning a lot of things when you're not with him, even if it feels really good and there's great chemistry when you're together, that's something to definitely pay attention to.
Yeah, oh gosh, that's one of the most common things I hear is like, well, when we're together, it's just the fireworks, it's incredible. We've all been there, right? But that's just, if that's only 10 to 20% of your relationship because he's not really showing up consistently, I would say that guy doesn't even qualify. So let me give you something. For a man to even qualify to spend any time with you at all, I would say these 2 or 3 things. I'm just coming up with these off the top of my head, but a little handful of things that he absolutely needs. Number one, his energy is coming towards you. That is, so many women that the man doesn't even meet that criteria, and they're just stuck on these men who are not doing anything, who are just showing up once every couple of weeks. To me, they're barely dating. It's barely even like a friendship, right? And we can get so attached and bonded to these men who are just not showing up consistently. So number one, his energy has to be coming towards you for you to even spend 1 second of your mental or emotional energy on him, right? I would say second thing, you have to feel good about yourself in his presence, right? You have to feel comfortable opening up, being authentic, and just seeing how he accepts you. He doesn't judge you. He isn't trying to, change anything about you, right? And the third thing is just, he's in general, he's a good guy. He's a good match for you in terms of, those are a little bit of those more external things, but just, is he a good person? Does he treat other people around him well, right? Because that'll give you a good indication of how he's going to treat you down the line. Any man can be amazing for the first 3 or 4 weeks of dating, but how does he treat other people in his life? Does he tend to want to take your feelings and needs into account? Does he, just in general, does he seem to be a good guy? So I would say those 3 things are so important. All of those other external requirements, we'll worry about those later, but you don't want to get wrapped up in those other things and then ignore these top 3 kind of requirements or qualifications. For a man to even get to spend 1 second with you, I would say those 3 things need to be in place.
Yeah, those are really, really important. And I do think that it takes time for a woman to get to know kind of the heart and character qualities of a man. And I think this is really so important, Helena, because one thing that I've learned through my own experience and working with other people is that for a woman to fall in love with a man, really, really fall in love with a man, and especially for her to stay in love with a man, She needs to respect who he is as an individual, as a man, because once that respect goes out the window, oftentimes the loving feelings or the romantic feelings disappear right along with it. But you have to kind of have the time to see who that person is, how they're really showing up, not just with you, but like you said, in his whole life. And that's why it's so important to kind of go into these things looking at it from a like not feeling like you have to be rushed, or not feeling like you have to know right away what the outcome's going to be, but allow that time for you to have the opportunity to make that choice from a feminine energy, which allows you to experience him in all of those different ways.